Hi, I'm Karla Nieto, and this is activity number 2.
I'm going to narrate one of the Sherlock Holmes stories called The Man with the Twisted Lip. One dark night, Mrs. Kate Whitney arrived at the Watson house. Kate was worried about her husband, as she knew he was addicted to opium. Mr. Watson decided to go find Isa in Upper Swadham Lane Street. He quickly finds Isa Whitney and makes her return home immediately. To Watson's surprise, an old man in the room reveals himself to be Sherlock Holmes in one of his disguises. Holmes requests that Watson accompany him on a case and they leave for Kent together. After a few minutes, Holmes leaves the opium house and explains to Watson that he was investigating the disappearance of Neville St. Clair. St. Clair lived in a large villa in Lee, Kent, with his wife and 2 children. One morning, he went into town to do business and buy a box of blocks for his son. Mrs. St. Clair went into town later that day to pick up a parcel and walked down Swadham Lane on her way back to the station. As he walked, she suddenly saw her husband looking at her from a high window. He seemed to be in a panic and abruptly disappeared, as if he had been forcibly pushed away. At first, she couldn't enter the house, but later, with the company of a police officer and inspector, they were able to enter. In the room above was a disfigured beggar named Hugh, a guest of the rooms, and they found more of the husband's belongings. The church took them to the river where they found Neville St. Clair's coat. Then Holmes and Watson traveled to the Cedars, the house where Neville St. Clair lived with his family. Mrs. St. Clair asked Holmes to give his honest opinion of Neville's fate. Holmes says that he believes Neville died on Monday. Mrs. St. Clair reveals that she received a letter from her husband that day. The letter urges Mr. St. Clair to wait patiently and assures her that all will be well. Holmes began to think about every detail of what had happened. In the early hours of the morning, Holmes informs a confused Watson that he has retrieved the keys to the mystery from the bedroom and that they must go immediately to Bow Street. Once they arrived, Holmes asked Inspector Bradstreet if he can see Hugh Boone. Watson and Bradstreet are surprised when Holmes vigorously cleans Boone's face, removing the dirt and makeup that disguised himself as Neville St. Clair. Neville St. Clair explains that during his youth he did theater where he acquired his skill in the art of composition. Years later, while working as a journalist, he posed as a beggar to write an accurate article for his publisher. Due to his extraordinary talent for presenting himself as an extremely moody and disfigured man, Neville St. Clair realized that he could earn much more money than he did from his job at the newspaper. Neville and Claire eventually married, but he kept his trade a secret. He continued to introduce himself as Boone during the day, changing clothes and personas in their rented rooms on Upper Sodom Lane. This had continued until, by chance, Mrs. St. Clair had seen Neville walking down Sodom Lane. Neville St. Clair has hastily disguised himself as a beggar and tried to dispose of his clothes out the window, and in the process cut his hand, staining the window sill with blood. Neville Sinclair promised to end his life as a bond in exchange for rights taken on the case and making sure the details are not made public. Thank you.